Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at this article you sent in about 7 spiritual tests for the strongest souls.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, when I first saw the title,
Okay.
it sounded a little intimidating. Like,
Yeah.
are we signing up for some kind of spiritual boot camp?
That's an interesting way to put it. The article definitely does present these tests as challenges, but they're not about punishment. It's more about, how we can use those inevitable hurdles in life as opportunities for growth.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like leveling up in a video game, but for our personal development.
Okay, that makes me feel a bit better. So instead of dreading these tests, we should be looking at them as stepping stones to becoming stronger and maybe even a little wiser.
Exactly. And it's not just about powering through difficulties, it's about building resilience. That
Yeah.
ability to bounce back from setbacks, learn from our mistakes, and keep moving forward.
All right, so the article dives right into this idea of confronting yourself.
Yeah.
This whole facing yourself thing. The article makes it sound so intense.
Right.
Like, how do we actually do that without driving ourselves crazy with introspection?
It's a great question, and you're right. The article doesn't offer a step-by-step guide,
Right.
but it emphasizes the importance of radical honesty.
Okay.
It's about being brutally honest with yourself, about your strengths, weaknesses, motivations, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's about peeling back those layers of identity and really getting to know who you are at your core.
That makes sense. We often present a certain version of ourselves to the world, but deep down we might have different fears, desires, or even a completely different vision of who we want to be.
Absolutely. And the article suggests that this isn't a one-time event.
Okay.
It's a recurring test.
Mm-hmm.
As we go through life, we change,
Yeah.
we evolve, so our understanding of ourselves needs to evolve too. Think about it. Who you were at 18 is probably not who you are at 30, right?
Totally. Hopefully who we are at 50 is even wiser and more awesome.
Right.
But, okay, let's say we've done some of this self-reflection.
Yeah.
What's next? The article talks about isolation as the second test, and
Okay.
I have to admit, this one makes me a little nervous. I mean, I love my friends, my family, my phone.
I understand the feeling.
Yeah.
Our society isn't exactly built for solitude. We're constantly plugged in, connected, stimulated.
Yeah.
But the article makes an important distinction. Isolation isn't necessarily about physical aloneness. It's about being alone with your own thoughts.
So more like a digital detox.
Yeah.
Turning off the noise of the world and tuning into that inner voice.
Exactly. Imagine this. You, a quiet cabin in the woods, and nothing but your thoughts. Terrifying, right? But the article suggests that confronting that fear of solitude can unlock surprising insights.
Oh, wow.
What do you think? Could you handle a digital detox retreat?
Maybe for a weekend. The article definitely makes a good point about all the distractions we surround ourselves with. It's almost like we're afraid of what we might discover if we actually slowed down and listened to our own thoughts.
That's a common fear.
Yeah.
But think of it this way. By facing that discomfort, we're actually cultivating self-reliance. We're learning to trust our own intuition, to be comfortable in our own company, and ultimately, to become more independent and resilient individuals.
Okay, I'm starting to see the value in this. So it's not about becoming hermits and cutting ourselves off from the world completely.
Not at all. It's about finding a balance, carving out intentional time for introspection, and connecting with that deeper part of ourselves.
Yeah.
Maybe it's meditation,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's journaling,
Right.
maybe it's a long walk in nature without your phone.
Right.
The key is to find what helps you tune out the external world and tune into your inner world.
That makes a lot of sense. All right, let's move on to test number 3, letting go.
Okay.
This feels like a universal struggle, right? We all have things we cling to, whether it's people, possessions, or even just ideas about how things should be.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
The article describes humans as creatures of attachment,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's spot on.
Right.
We get attached to things,
Right.
believing they bring us happiness or security,
Yeah.
even when they might be holding us back. It's like that saying, sometimes you have to let go of the shore to discover new oceans.
Ooh, I like that. But it's easier said than done, right? The article makes it sound so simple, but how do we actually know when something's no longer serving us? Is it always that obvious?
That's a fantastic question.
Yeah.
There isn't always a flashing neon sign, but the article suggests paying attention to what drains our energy, causes us stress, or keeps us stuck in cycles of negativity.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing the difference between what brings us genuine joy and what we're just holding on to out of fear or habit.
So if something consistently brings more pain than joy, it might be time to reevaluate its place in our lives, even if it's something or someone we've held dear for a long time.
Exactly. And remember, letting go doesn't necessarily mean cutting something out of your life completely.
Okay.
It might mean shifting your perspective, changing the way you relate to it, or setting healthier boundaries.
Right.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose what we allow to influence our lives and our well-being.
This is making me think about relationships, jobs, even those boxes of stuff in the attic we just can't seem to part with.
All of those things. Letting go can be applied to so many areas of our lives.
Yeah.
It's about creating space for new possibilities, for growth, and for experiences that truly align with our values and who we want to be.
Okay, so we've talked about confronting ourselves, embracing solitude, letting go of what no longer serves us. But now we're getting to a concept that feels a little heavier.
Okay.
The article calls it the dark night of the soul.
Right.
This is the 4th test.
Okay.
And honestly, the one I was most nervous to discuss.
I understand why.
Yeah.
It's a concept that's often misunderstood. And to be honest, the article doesn't sugarcoat it. It uses some pretty intense language.
Yeah.
Profound despair, disillusionment,
Yeah.
foundation crumbling.
Oh.
It paints a pretty vivid picture of what sounds like an incredibly difficult experience.
It does. So is this something that everyone experiences, or is it reserved for people going through major life upheavals like a divorce, job loss, or, a global pandemic?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And the article doesn't claim that everyone will experience a full-blown dark night of the soul,
Okay.
but it does suggest that most people, at some point in their lives, will go through periods of darkness and uncertainty.
Yeah.
These are those moments when we feel lost, confused, and unsure of who we are or what our purpose is.
Right.
It's like that saying, sometimes you have to lose yourself to find yourself.
That resonates with me. It's like
Yeah.
those times when everything feels like it's falling apart and you don't know which way to turn.
Mm-hmm.
You question everything you thought you knew about yourself and the world around you.
Right.
It can feel very isolating and scary.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that the article frames these periods of darkness, while incredibly difficult, as ultimately serving a purpose.
Yeah, okay.
It's not about being punished, but about a kind of purification. It's like going through a fire that burns away what no longer serves us, leaving us raw and vulnerable, but also open to transformation.
So it's about using that darkness, that discomfort, as an opportunity for growth and change.
Yeah.
It's like hitting rock bottom can sometimes be the catalyst for a powerful breakthrough.
Right, that's a great way to put it. The article suggests that many people get lost in the darkness, succumbing to fear and hopelessness.
Right.
But for those who endure, the dark night becomes a crucible, a transformative experience that helps them emerge stronger, wiser, and more connected to their true selves.
Wow, I'm starting to see this dark night of the soul in a new light. It's definitely not something I'd wish on anyone.
Right.
But if we can approach it with the right mindset, maybe it can become a powerful catalyst for personal growth and a deeper understanding of who we are.
That's the key takeaway. It's about reframing our perspective on challenges, even the most difficult ones,
Yeah.
and recognizing that they hold the potential for profound transformation. And remember, you're not alone in this. Many have walked this path before you,
Right.
and their experiences can offer guidance and inspiration.
Okay, so we've covered the first 4 tests. Confronting ourselves, embracing solitude, letting go, and navigating the dark night of the soul. These are some pretty intense concepts. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll dive into the remaining 3 tests. Stay with us.
Sounds good. Welcome back. I'm glad we're tackling these spiritual tests head on.
Me too. And it's funny, we often talk about strength in physical terms,
Right.
but these tests seem to focus on a different kind of strength, the strength of character, resilience, and self-awareness.
That's a really insightful observation.
Yeah.
The article doesn't explicitly define strength,
Right.
but it's clear that it's not about physical prowess or dominance. It's about inner strength, that ability to withstand challenges, to adapt and grow, and to emerge from difficult experiences with a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
So it's less about bench pressing our problems and more about learning to navigate them with grace and wisdom.
Exactly. And it's not about avoiding challenges altogether.
Yeah.
The article seems to suggest that these tests are an inherent part of the human experience. We're going to face them whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
The question is, how will we respond?
Okay, that makes sense. So let's dive into the next test, Faith.
Okay.
Now, I have to admit, this one feels a little less tangible than some of the others.
Right.
How do you define faith in the context of these spiritual tests?
That's a great question, and it's one that many people struggle with. What's interesting about this article is that it defines faith broadly.
Okay.
It's not limited to organized religion or specific beliefs. It's more about that fundamental trust in something larger than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you can't see the whole picture.
Right.
Even when things feel uncertain and maybe even a bit scary.
So it's less about having all the answers and more about trusting that there's a bigger plan, a guiding force, even when we can't see it or understand it.
Exactly. It's about that deep down feeling of knowing that things will work out even when you're going through a tough time.
Right.
And the article makes it clear that this isn't about blind optimism or ignoring reality.
Okay.
It's not about pretending everything is fine when it's not.
So it's not about putting on rose-colored glasses and pretending that challenges don't exist.
Not at all. Faith, as the article describes it, acknowledges the challenges,
Right.
the darkness,
Yeah.
the uncertainty, but still chooses to believe that there's something more,
Okay.
something guiding us,
Mm-hmm.
even when we feel like we're on our own.
I can see how that would be incredibly empowering, especially during those dark night of the soul moments we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
when everything feels like it's falling apart.
Right.
Having that sense of faith, that trust in something bigger than yourself, could be a lifeline.
Absolutely. The article suggests that faith isn't something we're necessarily born with.
Okay.
It's something we cultivate through experience. It's like a muscle that gets stronger with each challenge we overcome,
Yeah.
with each time we step outside our comfort zone and trust that we'll be okay.
So every time we face a difficult situation and make it through to the other side,
Right.
it reinforces that belief that we can handle whatever life throws our way.
Mm-hmm.
We're building resilience, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually as well.
That's a great way to put it. And the article emphasizes that faith isn't about having a crystal ball, knowing exactly what the future holds.
Right.
It's about trusting that even in the midst of uncertainty, there's something bigger at play,
Yeah.
a force that's guiding us toward our highest good,
Right.
even if the path isn't always clear.
It's like surrendering to the unknown, but with this sense of hope and confidence, knowing that we're not alone on this journey.
I
Yeah.
love that.
There
It
you go.
perfectly captures the essence of this test.
Yeah.
It's about surrendering control, but not giving up.
Right.
It's about trusting that even when we can't see the path, there is a path, and we're being guided along it step by step.
This is making me think about all the times in my life when I felt lost and uncertain.
Yeah.
But somehow things always seem to work out. It's like there was an invisible hand guiding me even when I couldn't see it.
That's the power of faith. And it doesn't necessarily have to be about a specific deity or religion. It could be about the universe, a higher power, nature, or even just that innate human capacity for resilience and hope. The key is that feeling of connection to something larger than yourself.
Yeah.
That sense that you're not alone in this vast and often unpredictable world.
Okay, I'm really starting to understand this concept of faith in a new way.
Yeah.
It's less about dogma and more about that deep-seated trust in the unfolding of life, even when things get messy and confusing.
Exactly. And now we're moving into a test that's closely related to faith,
Yeah.
but takes it a step further, surrender.
Now, I have to be honest. The word surrender sometimes has a negative connotation.
Right.
It can feel like giving up,
Yeah.
admitting defeat, or waving the white flag.
Right.
But I have a feeling that's not what the article is getting at.
You're right. It's not about weakness or resignation. In this context, surrender is about something much deeper.
Okay.
It's about releasing the need to control everything and trusting in the flow of life. It's about recognizing that we don't always have the answers,
Yeah.
that we can't force things to go our way,
Right.
and that sometimes the best thing we can do is let go and allow life to unfold as it's meant to.
So it's about accepting that we're not the puppet masters of our own destiny. There are bigger forces at play, and sometimes we just have to ride the wave.
That's a great analogy. It's about recognizing that there's a wisdom greater than our own,
Right.
a force that's guiding us toward our highest good, even when we can't see it or understand it.
Yeah.
It's about trusting the process, even when it feels uncomfortable or uncertain.
This is making me think about that, saying, let go and let God.
Right.
But I guess it doesn't have to be about a specific deity, right? It
Yeah.
can be about the universe, a higher power, nature, or even just the natural flow of life.
That's right. The article keeps it open-ended,
Okay.
allowing for individual interpretation.
Yeah.
The key is that sense of letting go of the reins and trusting that we're being guided,
Right.
supported,
Mm-hmm.
and loved, even when things feel chaotic or out of control.
It sounds like a radical shift in perspective.
It is.
Going from a place of trying to control everything
Yeah.
to a place of trust and acceptance.
Yeah.
It's like switching from being the driver to being the passenger and trusting that the universe knows where it's going.
It is a profound shift. And the article acknowledges that this can be a difficult transition. Our egos, those little voices in our heads, want to be in control, to dictate the terms of our lives.
Right.
But surrender is about recognizing the limitations of the ego and embracing a more expansive way of being.
It's about recognizing that we're part of something bigger than ourselves, something that flows and ebbs and weaves its way through our lives, whether we try to control it or not.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
And the article uses a really powerful analogy to illustrate this concept. The flow of a river.
Okay.
If we try to swim against the current, we exhaust ourselves.
Yeah.
We struggle. We might even drown.
Oh, wow.
But if we surrender to the flow, we're carried effortlessly downstream.
So surrender isn't about giving up, but about aligning ourselves with the natural order of things.
Right.
About trusting the wisdom of the universe and letting go of the illusion of control.
That's it. It's about moving from a place of resistance to a place of harmony and flow.
Okay.
It's about allowing life to unfold naturally without forcing our own agenda.
Okay, so we've covered faith and surrender, two concepts that are closely intertwined and seem to build upon each other.
Right.
We've talked about confronting ourselves, finding solace in solitude, learning to let go, navigating the dark night of the soul, cultivating faith, and now surrendering to the flow of life.
Right.
What's the final test that this article presents?
Right.
What's at the end of this spiritual obstacle course?
Well, the article suggests that after all of these trials and transformations, there's one final test that awaits us.
Okay.
And it's perhaps the most profound of all, awakening.
Awakening.
Right.
It sounds pretty epic. What exactly does it mean in this context?
It's about experiencing a deep shift in consciousness,
Okay.
a profound realization of truth, and a much deeper understanding of our true nature.
Right.
Imagine seeing the world with fresh eyes,
Yeah.
understanding our interconnectedness with all things,
Right.
and recognizing the inherent beauty and wisdom that exists within us and all around us. It's like the culmination of all the previous tests,
Right.
the blossoming of our full potential.
It sounds almost mystical, like a sudden burst of enlightenment, a moment of clarity where everything falls into place.
It can feel like that for some people, that sudden and dramatic shift.
Right.
But the article emphasizes that awakening is often a gradual process,
Okay.
a series of moments of insight that build upon one another.
Right.
It's like those aha moments when we suddenly see things in a new light, and our understanding of ourselves and the world around us expands.
So it's not necessarily about having a single life-altering experience,
Right.
but about continuously expanding our awareness,
Exactly.
deepening our understanding, and becoming more attuned to the subtle nuances of life.
That's a great way to put it. It's about evolving our consciousness, moving from a limited perspective to a more expansive one.
Right.
It's about shedding old beliefs and patterns that no longer serve us,
Yeah.
and embracing a more authentic and fulfilling way of being.
So it's like we're peeling back layers of conditioning and discovering the truth of who we are beneath the surface. So
Yeah.
what are some signs that someone is experiencing an awakening? Is it like a light bulb goes off over their head, or do they suddenly start speaking in riddles?
Well, it might not be that dramatic,
Okay.
but the article suggests that awakened individuals often experience a deep sense of peace and contentment. They no longer seek validation or happiness from external sources because they've discovered it within themselves.
Right.
They've tapped into that inner reservoir of joy and fulfillment that we all have access to,
Yeah.
but often forget about.
It sounds like they've found that sense of inner peace and harmony that so many of us are searching for.
Right.
They're no longer chasing external validation or material possessions because they've realized that true happiness comes from within.
Exactly. And the article emphasizes that this isn't about becoming detached from the world or denying our emotions.
Right.
It's about experiencing life with a greater sense of clarity, purpose, and connection.
Yeah.
It's about living more fully and authentically, embracing all that life has to offer, the good and the bad, the joys and the sorrows, knowing that it's all part of the tapestry of human experience.
So it's about living a more conscious and intentional life, making choices that are aligned with our values, and showing up in the world with more authenticity and compassion.
That's a beautiful way to summarize it.
Yeah.
And the article suggests that this awakening, this shift in consciousness, doesn't just benefit the individual, it has a ripple effect that extends outward,
Okay.
influencing the lives of those around us.
Right.
So our own inner transformation contributes to a more compassionate, understanding, and loving world.
It's like a chain reaction of positivity.
Mm-hmm.
The more we awaken to our own true nature, the more we inspire others to do the same.
Exactly. And the article reminds us that this journey of spiritual growth is an ongoing process.
Yeah.
There's no finish line, no graduation ceremony. It's about continuously evolving, learning, and expanding our awareness. It's about embracing the journey of becoming,
Right.
knowing that there's always more to discover,
Yeah.
more to learn, and more to experience.
So it's not about achieving some perfect state of enlightenment, but about embracing the journey of becoming, the ups and downs,
Yeah.
the twists and turns, the moments of clarity and the moments of confusion, knowing that it's all part of the grand adventure of being human.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And now that we've covered all 7 tests, from confronting ourselves to embracing awakening, I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
What resonated with you most?
Well, I think what struck me the most is that these tests aren't meant to be avoided or feared.
Right.
They're not punishments, but rather invitations to grow, to evolve, and to discover the incredible potential that lies within us.
I agree. It's a perspective shift that can be incredibly empowering. Instead of seeing challenges as roadblocks,
Right.
we can choose to see them as opportunities for transformation. It's like that saying, the obstacle is the path.
Exactly. And I also love the idea that this is an ongoing process,
Right.
not a destination. It's about embracing the journey, the ups and downs,
Yeah.
the moments of clarity and the moments of confusion, knowing that it's all part of the grand adventure of being human.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
It's a journey of self-discovery that never truly ends.
Yeah.
There's always more to learn, more to experience,
Right.
and more to become.
This has been an incredible deep dive. We've explored so much, from confronting ourselves to surrendering to the flow of life and ultimately awakening to our true nature.
It has been.
It's given me a lot to think about, and I'm sure our listeners are feeling the same way. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just a reminder to our listeners, this journey is unique to each individual.
Right.
There's no right or wrong way to approach it. The key is to be curious, compassionate, and open to the lessons that life is presenting to you. Trust your intuition, be kind to yourself, and remember, you're not alone on this path.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the spiritual tests of the strongest souls. We hope you've found some valuable insights and inspiration along the way.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep awakening to the incredible potential that lies within you.
Wow. I feel like we've climbed a spiritual mountain after all that. We covered so much, from confronting our deepest selves to embracing the idea of surrender.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's amazing how these seemingly simple tests can hold so much depth.
It is true. And I
Yeah.
think we only just scratched the surface.
Yeah,
Each one of these tests could be like a deep dive all on its own.
absolutely. But I think we've laid a solid foundation
Yeah.
for understanding how these tests can help us cultivate a stronger sense of self and maybe even find a deeper meaning in our lives.
I agree. It's about recognizing that challenges, even the really tough ones, aren't meant to break us.
Right.
They're actually designed to help us grow and evolve.
Exactly. So for our listeners who are just joining us, we've been exploring this fascinating article about 7 spiritual tests for the strongest souls.
Right.
We've already talked about confronting ourselves,
Yeah.
embracing solitude,
Right.
letting go of what no longer serves us,
Right.
navigating the dark night of the soul, cultivating faith,
Right.
and surrendering to the flow of life. And now we're arriving at the final test, the culmination of this whole journey, awaken.
The fitting end to this exploration, isn't it? After all those trials and transformations, we arrive at a state of greater awareness and understanding.
Right.
It's like reaching the peak of the mountain and finally seeing the bigger picture.
It does feel like that. But what does awakening actually look like?
Right.
Is it like a sudden bolt of lightning, a dramatic epiphany that changes everything in an instant? Or is it something more subtle, something that unfolds gradually over time?
The article offers a nuanced perspective on this.
Okay.
It acknowledges that for some people, awakening can be a sudden and profound experience,
Right.
like a light bulb switching on.
Yeah.
But for many others, it's a gradual process, a series of aha moments that slowly but surely expand their awareness and understanding.
So it's less about a single earth-shattering event, more about a continuous unfolding, a journey of becoming more conscious and connected to ourselves and the world around us.
Exactly. It's about those moments when the veil lifts and we see things with fresh eyes,
Yeah.
with a deeper understanding and appreciation. It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of all things,
Right.
the beauty and wisdom that exists in every moment, and the inherent potential that resides within each of us.
Okay, I'm getting chills just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But it all sounds so abstract. How do we know if we're actually experiencing an awakening? Are there any, like, telltale signs?
The article highlights a few key indicators.
Okay.
For example, people who are experiencing an awakening often report a profound sense of peace and contentment. They're no longer as easily swayed by external circumstances or driven by a need for validation from others.
Right.
They've found a sense of inner fulfillment that doesn't depend on external factors.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like they've tapped into that wellspring of joy and wisdom that resides within each of us, and they no longer need to search for it outside themselves.
Exactly. And because they're no longer driven by fear, scarcity, or a need for external validation, they're able to show up in the world with more compassion, understanding, and love. They recognize the interconnectedness of all things and treat others with kindness and respect, even in the face of conflict or adversity.
So it's not just about personal transformation.
Right.
It's about becoming a more positive and contributing force in the world. It's about radiating that inner peace and understanding outward,
Yeah.
creating a ripple effect that touches the lives of others.
That's beautifully said. And the article emphasizes that this journey of spiritual growth, this path towards awakening, is an ongoing process. There's
Yeah.
no finish line, no graduation ceremony. It's about continuously evolving, learning, and expanding our awareness.
Right.
It's about embracing the journey of becoming, knowing that there's always more to discover, more to learn, and more to experience.
It's like we're all works in progress, constantly evolving and refining our understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is that there's no right or wrong way to approach this journey.
Right.
It's unique to each individual.
Yeah.
The key is to be curious, compassionate, and open to the lessons that life is presenting to you.
Right.
Trust your intuition, be kind to yourself, and remember that you're not alone on this path.
I love that. And you know, it's funny, we started this deep dive feeling a bit intimidated by these tests.
Right.
But now I'm starting to see them as gifts, as opportunities to become more resilient, more aware, and more connected to our true selves.
That's a wonderful way to put it. It's about reframing our perspective on challenges
Yeah.
and recognizing that they can be catalysts for profound growth and transformation.
And for our listeners, I hope you're feeling that same sense of empowerment.
Yeah.
Remember, you don't have to have all the answers or figure it all out at once.
Right.
Just be open to the journey, trust the process, and keep exploring the incredible potential that lies within you.
Well said. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the 7 spiritual tests for the strongest souls. Thank you for joining us on this exploration.
Yeah, this has been great.
We hope you found it insightful and inspiring.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep growing, and keep awakening to the beauty and wonder of life.